Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Tuesday, December 16th, 2025, and you're listening to Alex's News. The high in Riverside today is 79.1 degrees, with a low dipping to 55.1, so expect a mild day with plenty of sunshine, perfect for getting out and about. Coming up, we'll examine how a gunman slipped past security measures at Brown University right in the middle of the day and unpack California's bold move to recruit ousted CDC officials to push back against incoming Trump administration health strategies. Plus, other key developments from around the world. All this and more on Alex's News. Stay tuned. Good morning. The search for the Brown University shooter is still underway. Ethan, bring us up to speed.
3 days after the attack on Saturday, December 13th, investigators still haven't named or caught the gunman. According to ABC News, citing Associated Press reporting, federal, state, and local teams are working around the clock and widening their search. They're urging anyone with even small details to call in tips.
Remind us what happened inside that engineering building Saturday afternoon.
The shooting started around 405 p.m. Eastern in room 166 of the Barris and Hawley building during a voluntary review session for an introductory economics exam. Witnesses tell ABC News that someone fired more than 40 rounds from a 9mm handgun, then fled on foot out toward Hope Street. It was finals week, the building's doors were open, and that's a big part of the security questions now facing Brown.
What do we know about the victims?
2 students were killed, 19-year-old sophomore Ella Cook from Birmingham, Alabama, and 18-year-old freshman Muhammad Aziz Umarzakov, originally from Uzbekistan, known to friends as Aziz. WLWT and WYFF, carrying Associated Press reporting, say Cook was remembered by her pastor, Reverend R. Craig Smalley, as, quote, an incredible, grounded, faithful, bright light, end quote. Aziz's sister told the AP he battled serious childhood health challenges and kept a promise he made at 7 to excel academically, ultimately earning a spot at Brown.
There's a heartbreaking detail about both of them, right?
Yes, both had survived prior high school shootings, according to the AP coverage referenced by ABC News and the NBC affiliates. Friends and classmates told reporters they drew courage from that resilience, which makes this loss all the more devastating to the campus community. One student leader, Martine Bertau, posted a tribute on X, praising Cook's service and steady encouragement of others.
How are the wounded students doing today?
9 students were taken to Rhode Island Hospital. By late Monday, December 15th, yesterday, Providence's mayor said none of their conditions had worsened, according to ABC News. Brown's president, Christina Paxson, said 1 student was released Sunday night, 1 remains in critical condition, and 7 are in critical but stable condition.
We heard about one survivor in particular. What do we know?
WLWT and WYFF report that Kendall Turner, a recent graduate of Durham Academy in North Carolina, suffered critical injuries and her parents are with her. The school put out a statement expressing solidarity with Kendall and her classmates. Another student, freshman Spencer Yang, told ABC News he hid between seats, was shot in the leg, and tried to keep badly wounded peers awake until police arrived. He expected to be discharged soon.
Let's talk about the suspect. What's the description, and what evidence do police have?
The FBI describes a man about 5 feet 8 inches, stocky build, considered armed and dangerous. Authorities released several images and videos yesterday, Monday, showing a masked person of interest near Hope and Benevolent Streets about 2 hours before the attack, wearing a dark two-tone jacket and a face covering. Another clip from after the shooting shows someone in all black walking a city street. Investigators called that the most useful for tracking movements, according to WLWT's transcript of the briefing.
Are they saying Brown itself was targeted?
Yes. Officials believe the university was specifically targeted, though they haven't shared a motive. ABC News reports they're tracing the suspect's path before and after the shooting and comparing video angles from multiple blocks to identify where he came from and where he went. The FBI has posted a $50,000 reward for tips leading to identification, arrest, and conviction.
How can people send tips?
They're urging anyone with information to call 1-800-CALL-FBI or Providence Police at 4012-723-121. Investigators also want residents and businesses to review footage from around Hope, Benevolent, and Manning Streets on Friday and Saturday. The hope, as officials noted, is that public tips can spark a breakthrough, similar to what happened after the Boston Marathon investigation.
There was a mistaken detention on Sunday. What happened there?
On Sunday morning, December 14th, 2 days ago, police detained an initial person of interest at a Coventry hotel, about 20 miles out. By that evening, they'd lifted renewed lockdowns after evidence pointed, as officials put it, in a different direction, according to the AP coverage on ABC News and the NBC affiliates. It drew criticism that time might have been lost, and Rhode Island's Attorney General Peter Nerona said, quote, "We have a murderer out there," end quote, as reported by WYFF.
How big is the investigation now?
Hundreds of officers from the FBI, Providence Police, Rhode Island State Police, and the U.S. Marshals are canvassing neighborhoods, knocking on doors, and asking for private camera footage, according to ABC News. Snow over the weekend slowed some searches of yards and alleys, and some businesses were closed, limiting access to video until Monday. They're also processing forensic and electronic evidence and asking anyone who was in that building on December 12th or 13th to come forward.
Has Brown changed anything on campus since the attack?
All remaining in-person classes and exams are canceled for the semester, and the shelter-in-place order issued at 422 page M Saturday was lifted early Sunday at 5.
That's a big piece of the debate now. Security on campus. What's under scrutiny?
Several things. WLWT, WYFF, and ABC News all highlight that the first-floor classroom had no surveillance cameras, and the building's outer doors were unlocked at the time. Brown has an open, unfenced campus, and students told reporters that makes it welcoming, but also potentially vulnerable when access isn't tightly controlled.
How are students and neighbors reacting to that?
Many are asking how a masked shooter could walk in midday, fire so many rounds, and slip away before lockdowns fully took hold. ABC News interviewed a prospective student, Colin Musette, who said the ease of entry and exit deeply unsettled him. A Rhode Island School of Design student tied to a Brown dance team, Li Ding, questioned why surveillance wasn't more robust in that area, noting Brown had hundreds of cameras campus-wide as of 2021.
Were there issues with alerts and communication during the emergency?
Yes, some students say they heard from friends before they saw official notices, and early messages were inconsistent. ABC News reports that has sparked questions about whether Brown met the spirit of the Clery Act, which requires timely warnings and emergency notifications. A local resident told WYFF she was surprised there weren't door knocks or wider alerts Saturday night.
What about the wider community? How are other schools handling this?
There's been a ripple effect. ABC News and WLWT report that other Rhode Island colleges increased patrols, while Ivy League campuses like Yale boosted security at Hanukkah events. Jewish organizations nationwide urged vigilance after a separate Hanukkah-related attack overseas, and Providence Public Schools reopened Monday with extra police presence, though nerves are still raw.
What's the latest from Brown's leadership and city officials?
Mayor Brett Smiley told ABC News this kind of violence feels new and deeply painful for Rhode Island, and he praised the quick medical response that likely saved lives. President Paxson focused on grief counseling, memorial spaces, and practical safety resources, while acknowledging the community's fear and frustration. The message from both resources are available, but the priority is catching the shooter.
Do investigators have any working theory on motive?
They're not sharing one. Officials have said the university was targeted, but they haven't indicated whether the class or individuals were singled out. According to ABC News, they're leaving all options on the table while they collect and analyze evidence.
How are students honoring the victims right now?
Vigils, flowers, and notes have appeared near the Baruzan Holly building. WYFF and WLWT describe a makeshift memorial at the site, with classmates gathering quietly and faculty offering support. Counselors and chaplains have been on hand, and Brown is making arrangements for community remembrance when students are ready.
Back to the images. How clear are they, and what should viewers look for?
The stills and clips are grainy, but they show distinct clothing, a two-tone dark jacket and a partial face mask several hours before the attack, then all black attire afterward, according to WLWT's coverage of the press conference. Investigators want people to focus on gait, posture, and any recognizable patterns in how the person walks. They also want to know about anyone seen ditching clothing or a bag near Hope, Benevolent, or Manning Street Saturday afternoon.
Are there any updates on the weapon used?
Authorities say it was a 9mm handgun and more than 40 rounds were fired. That detail, reported by ABC News and the NBC affiliates, suggests the shooter had ample ammunition and time before fleeing. Forensics teams are examining casings and ballistic signatures to see if they match other incidents.
Has Brown discussed adding cameras or changing door policies after this?
Not specifics yet. The tension, as students and security experts told ABC News, is between an open academic environment and more fortified controls, especially with fire codes requiring easy exit during high traffic times like finals. Brown's current posture is to complete the immediate crisis response, then move into policy reviews informed by law enforcement findings.
For families listening, what's the best way to get reliable updates today?
Check Brown's official alerts page and Providence Police and FBI social accounts. ABC News notes there were no evening briefings Monday, but agencies expected to share more today, Tuesday, December 16th. Local outlets like WLWT and WYFF have been carrying Associated Press updates in near real time. And again, if you have footage or saw anything on Friday or Saturday near campus, call 1-800-CALL-FBI or Providence Police at 4012723121.
Before we wrap, any final note on the two students we lost?
Ella Cook's pastor said she embodied boldness and encouragement, and she remained active in her church even after surviving a previous shooting, according to the AP reports carried by WLWT and WYFF. Aziz Umerzakov kept a childhood promise to overcome his health challenges and succeed in school, his sister told the AP, and was helping a friend during that review session. ABC News underscored how both stories reflect resilience and how profound the loss feels to their classmates and teachers.
And the bottom line on the search this morning?
The shooter is still at large, considered armed and dangerous, and investigators are pushing hard with new images and a $50,000 reward. They're canvassing, reviewing video, and compiling forensic leads, while Brown mourns and security debates intensify. As Attorney General Nerona put it in WYFF's coverage, quote, "We have a murderer out there," end quote, and they need the public's help to bring him in.
Ethan, thank you for the reporting and the context. We'll keep following developments through the day. California is making a splash in public health, hiring 2 former CDC leaders after months of federal turmoil. Chloe's here to explain what the state's doing and why it matters today. Chloe, what's the headline?
The big move is Governor Gavin Newsom bringing in Susan Menares and Dr. Deborah Howry to help build a state-led public health innovation hub. ABC News, drawing on Associated Press reporting, described it as a direct answer to shifts in federal health policy under President Trump and HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Newsom called California a counterweight and said, quote, "We're not just wringing our hands right now, we're fighting back," end quote.
What exactly are these two going to do?
They're joining a new program called the Public Health Network Innovation Exchange, PHNIX, aimed at modernizing California's public health systems. The Los Angeles Times and the Sacramento Bee report PHNIX received $4 million in the state budget back in June to improve data sharing, disease surveillance, and trust and evidence-based decisions. The governor's office confirmed their roles, but the specific contract terms haven't been posted yet since the announcement was just yesterday.
Why is California doing this now?
It's a direct response to what state leaders see as politicized changes at the federal level. According to coverage by the AP and ABC News, Kennedy's tenure has brought reorganizations, budget pressure, and challenges to vaccine consensus. California's positioning itself to keep science front and center, even if Washington moves in a different direction.
Give us a quick reminder. Who is Susan Menares?
Menares is a former federal biomedical research official who became CDC director this year, confirmed in July, and fired in August. In Senate testimony September 17th, which ABC News and AP outlets cited, she said she was pushed to pre-approve all vaccine recommendations regardless of evidence and refused. Her lawyers, quoted by the Washington Post and CBS News, accused HHS of weaponizing public health. Kennedy denied wrongdoing in his own Senate appearance.
And what will Menares do in California?
She'll serve as PHNIX's Strategic Health Technology and Funding Advisor. Yahoo News and Time reported she'll leverage California's tech sector for AI-driven disease surveillance, faster data integration, and public-private partnerships. She said California won't sit on the sidelines and wants to build systems that protect lives.
What about Dr. Deborah Howery?
Howery spent more than a decade at the CDC, including as chief medical officer and deputy director, and resigned in August soon after Menares was ousted. NPR and The Guardian noted she left in protest over what she called politicization, censorship of CDC science, and plans to cut or reorganize key programs. She told senators she wouldn't replace evidence with ideology or compromise her integrity.
What job is Howery taking?
She's the Senior Regional and Global Public Health Medical Advisor for PHNIX. Regional outlets like the San Joaquin Valley Sun and Hoodline say she'll help standardize medical guidance, improve interstate and international partnerships, and make data sharing more modern and useful. The goal is practical, scalable solutions states can use, even if federal guidance gets muddled.
How does PHNIX actually work?
Think of it as California's lab for public health modernization, common data standards, faster outbreak detection, and tools that work across state lines. The Sacramento Bee reported the $4 million seed funding is designed to attract more investment and partnerships with universities and tech firms. It also supports governance models meant to build public trust through transparent, evidence-based practice.
Are there details on these hires, like pay or contract length?
Not yet. The governor's website confirmed the roles, but as of today, December 16th, budget change proposals and procurement records aren't publicly posted. AP reporting carried by outlets like MyNorthwest and KSAT noted the timing explains the delay, since Newsom made the announcement just yesterday.
What's driving California's urgency?
The federal backdrop is intense. ABC News and AP accounts point to Secretary Kennedy's long-standing skepticism on vaccines, recent website changes at CDC questioning the scientific consensus on autism, and rhetoric that medical groups call misleading. California wants guardrails that don't shift with DC politics.
There was a controversial vote on newborn vaccines, right?
Yes, on December 5th, the CDC's Advisory Committee, ACIP, voted 8-3 to end the universal recommendation for the hepatitis B birth dose, emphasizing individual decision-making for babies born to Hep B negative mothers. Pharmacy Times and Fierce Pharma covered the vote, and the committee also backed post-vaccination antibody testing in a separate vote. Infectious disease experts criticized the rationale as ignoring screening gaps that the birth dose has helped close since the early 90s.
Has the CDC adopted that change yet?
Not as of today. CDC's own schedule notes, updated December 8th, still recommend the birth dose for all newborns, particularly when a mother's status is unknown or positive. AP dispatches picked up by outlets from Boston 25 News to the San Mateo Daily Journal said the White House and HHS declined to comment on California's hires.
How does Newsom frame California's role here?
He's positioning the state as a science-forward counterweight. The Associated Press, via ABC News coverage, quoted him arguing California can steady national expectations by investing in data and expertise that don't bend to politics. He called PHNIX the groundwork for a modern infrastructure with national and even global reach.
Is this just California acting alone?
No, it builds on a West Coast alliance, with Washington and Oregon announced September 3rd. The Guardian and the LA Times reported the three states want independent guidance and vaccine recommendations if federal safeguards erode. PHNIX is the engine room for that, with shared platforms to spot trends and protect privacy.
What do critics say?
Republican State Senator Tony Strickland slammed the move as political theater, saying Newsom's focused on ambitions over California's immediate needs. That criticism, reported by ABC News and the Washington Examiner, ties in broader concerns about housing, wildfires, and cost of living. Newsom's office counters that public health capacity is a core service, not a distraction.
Do we know how Menarez and Oury will coordinate with local health departments?
The plan, as described by the Sacramento Bee, is to support counties with interoperable tools rather than replace them. Menarez's tech focus dovetails with Oury's clinical and policy background to align standards without dictating care. It's meant to make local data useful statewide and across borders in real time.
Any specifics on the technology side?
Menarez talked about AI-enabled disease surveillance and faster integration of hospital, lab, and public health data. Times coverage emphasized her pitch to tap California's tech ecosystem while maintaining strong privacy protections. The idea is to shave days off detection and response when outbreaks begin.
How does this intersect with vaccine misinformation?
California officials say stronger data and transparent communication make it harder for misinformation to fill the void. NPR's analysis of Oury's resignation highlighted the damage when trusted messengers are silenced or sidelined. PHNIX aims to standardize the pipelines of facts so clinicians and communities get timely, credible guidance.
What's different about funding through PHNIX?
It's structured to attract outside investment and partnerships, instead of relying only on state dollars. The LA Times noted PHNIX's mandate includes building sustainable funding frameworks. Think consortia with universities, health systems, and tech firms. That approach is meant to outlast election cycles.
Could this influence other states?
That's the bet. AP coverage suggested California hopes to model a path that other states can replicate, especially those wary of federal disruption. If it works, interstate data platforms could become the norm.
How might the federal government respond?
So far, silence on these specific hires according to multiple AP syndications. But if state and federal guidance diverge more sharply, we could see tussles over funding strings or federal preemption. For now, California is using its own budget and partnerships to avoid that choke point.
Remind us about the Tylenol claim we heard earlier this fall.
In September, President Trump urged pregnant women to avoid Tylenol, claiming it raised autism risk, a statement medical groups called irresponsible. ABC News cited the American Academy of Pediatrics and decades of studies that don't support that link. That episode fed concerns about politicized health advice.
And the CDC website changes on vaccines and autism?
Last month, the CDC site was updated in ways that questioned the long-standing consensus, aligning more with Secretary Kennedy's views. KFF Health News and the New Republic flagged the shift and the backlash from scientists. It's part of the context for why California wants its own capacity.
How are California hospitals and clinicians reacting?
We don't have a unified response yet, but the hope is PHNIX gives frontline providers clearer, faster guidance. The Sacramento Bee reported strong interest in interoperable systems that cut down on duplicative reporting. Clinicians want less bureaucracy and more actionable data.
What's the timeline for seeing results?
Early milestones could show up within months: standards for data feeds, pilot projects on outbreak detection, and formal partnerships. The deeper payoff, like cross-state data harmonization, will take a year or more. Remember, the program was funded in June, and these hires were made just yesterday, so we're at the start.
Any legal hurdles?
Nothing obvious right now, since this is state capacity building. If PHNIX's guidance conflicts with federal rules tied to funding, that's where legal questions could arise. For the moment, it's additive rather than adversarial.
Does this hint at Newsom's national ambitions?
Politically, yes and no. The Washington Examiner framed it as grandstanding, but AP reporting underscored a practical angle strengthening systems after a bruising pandemic and amid federal upheaval. Whether it benefits a 2028 run is speculation. The immediate test is performance.
What do Menares and Howery gain by coming to California?
A chance to build without the political crossfire they described in Washington. Time and NPR emphasized they left the CDC over what they saw as pressure to dilute science. Here, they'll be judged on tangible improvements in preparedness and trust.
Bottom line for Californians today?
California is trying to insulate public health decisions from federal political swings by investing in talent and technology. According to the LA Times and AP, PHNIX is designed to be collaborative, fast, and grounded in evidence. If it delivers, it could protect communities and set a blueprint for others.
Chloe, great context and timing today. Thanks for walking us through it.
Thanks, Grace. We'll keep tracking the contracts, the pilots, and what this means for care on the ground.
Here are some other headlines. Kyiv says peace could be within arm's reach. President Volodymyr Zelensky signaled a U.S.-brokered framework to end the nearly 4-year war may be finalized within days, after Berlin talks with American envoys, including Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Officials say Washington and Kyiv have resolved about 90% of differences, with the U.S. backing, platinum standard, security guarantees, and a European-led multinational force on the ground, while America helps police a ceasefire. The sticking point is territory. The U.S. floated a free economic zone in Donbass, but Zelensky insisted Ukraine won't recognize Russian sovereignty over occupied lands. Timeline. Documents could be ready as early as Wednesday, with U.S.-Russia meetings eyed this weekend. Stakes are high. If Vladimir Putin rejects the terms, Kyiv expects tougher sanctions and more military aid. If talks collapse, American assistance could shrink. Markets caught a case of the jitters ahead of a jobs jigsaw with missing pieces. Asian equities slid Tuesday. Japan's Nikkei 225 fell about 1.6%, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng dropped roughly 1.6%, pressured by soft Chinese numbers. Retail sales grew just 1.3%, and a Bank of Japan meeting Friday that may lift rates. U.S. futures also sagged as traders braced for a long-delayed November employment report. That report lands today after an 11-day delay stemming from a 43-day government shutdown that even canceled October's release, meaning no official unemployment rate for October and a Federal Reserve flying partially blind. Consensus forecasts call for roughly 40,000 jobs added in November, with unemployment holding at 4.4%. With hiring expectations this light, the Fed's next move could hinge on whether the labor market shows more fizz or fizzle, and whether policymakers cut rates further to cushion a cooling economy. China is lowering the bar. The Commerce Ministry will impose final anti-dumping duties of 4.9% to 19.8% on EU pork, starting December 17, 2025, far leaner than September's provisional tariffs that topped out at 62.4%. The 5-year measures hit major shippers in Spain, the Netherlands, and Denmark, but the trimmed rates offer a partial reprieve. Dutch producer Vion faces 19.8%, while Spain's Litera Meat lands at 4.9%, preserving access to their key offal market. The decision caps an 18-month probe and signals de-escalation after Brussels moved against Chinese EVs bacon without bringing home a broader trade war. Stateside, a legal slice and dice takes center stage. President Donald Trump filed a $10 billion defamation suit against the BBC in federal court in Miami, alleging a Panorama documentary, Trump, A Second Chance, spliced remarks nearly an hour apart to suggest he told supporters to fight like hell while marching to the Capitol, omitting his call for peaceful protest. The BBC apologized, calling the edit an error of judgment. The flap preceded the resignations of Director General Tim Davie and Head of News Deborah Turnus last month. The case escalates Trump's post-2024 media battles after settlements with U.S. networks and could test the bounds when a sitting U.S. president sues a foreign, state-backed broadcaster under American defamation law. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with GPT-5, Gemini Pro 3, Gemini Flash 2.5, and Google Cloud Text-to-Speech. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.